was intrigued by doing hair. My passion for doing hair started with wanting to do my own hair. I remember my mom hurting me when I was getting my hair done, so I took the time to learn how to do my hair at a young age, like about second grade. I was doing my own hairstyles. I remember having clients even as early as 13 with folks coming to my home. So it's just always something that I've done. I never envisioned myself having my own salon, and that's never something I imagined as a young age. I always envisioned myself working in somebody else's salon. I was a banker for 4 years, so total 6 years at the Banking Institute, but ended up getting fired and was interviewing at different banks during that time and just really had the epiphany of, I really don't want to do this. I really never been passionate about this. I've been doing it because I needed to provide an income for myself. So I just didn't want to do it anymore. And so I just, jumped out on a limb and started Curly Coils.
I am 100%, 100%, no cap. No one can do what I do, do what I do, do what I do. Yeah. I'ma show you what I got, here's what I got, here's what I got. Yeah, supernatural, the new original. I am the new OG. I am the new OG. Can't do what I do. A brand new me. I am the new and improved. No one can do what I do, what I do. You know who I be? I'm the prize winner. If there's a crashing wave, I'ma dive in it. I'm gonna live my truth no matter who be who. What you throw at me, I'm gonna rise in it. Tiffany blues to a clear sky. On airplane mode cause I'm so high. I can crack the code like DiCaprio or that kid on Old who had a 100%. Stronger, better, powerful. 100%. I'm the true, I'm the new original. 100%. Stronger, better, powerful. 100%. I'm the true, I'm the new original. I am 100%, 100%. No one can do what I do, do what I do, do what I do. I'ma show you what I got, here's what I got, here's what I got. Yeah, supernatural, the new original. I am the new OG. I am the new OG. Can't do what I do. A brand new me. I am the new and improved. No one can do what I do.
You have to have an appetite for your vision. That hunger is extremely important. It will help you overcome those things to try to get in your way. Brittany Davidson had a vision. She created it in her mind. She believed in it, fell in love with it, and she built it in her reality. My name is David Gibson, and this is the Quest series. We have the opportunity to sit down with Brittany Davidson of Curly Coils. She created this hair salon that meets the needs of a specific niche. Now, mind you, they're serving clients, and these clients are booking appointments not just weeks ahead, but months ahead. And in many cases, she's serving clients that are crossing state lines for their services, which really speaks to the value that they create. So join with me as we sit down with Brittany Davidson.
Great day to you, family. Listen, we have the great pleasure and the honor to sit down with owner, founder, operator of Curly Coils Hair Salon. Brittany, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Again, I'm extremely excited about diving into your story, hearing more details of how you have built this vision of yours. Like, we are literally sitting in the physical manifestation of something that started as an idea in your mind and now is something that you live every single day.
Absolutely.
Now, I guess to kind of dive into your story, let's really revisit like your journey with connecting with this passion of yours. Can you kind of take us on that journey with you?
Being a youngster, I always was intrigued by doing hair, even doing my own hair. I guess my passion for doing hair started with wanting to do my own hair. I remember my mom hurting me when I was getting my hair done, and so I took the time to learn how to do my hair at a young age, like about second grade. I was doing my own hairstyles, so that's kind of where it spawned from. But I remember having clients even as early as 13 with folks coming to my home. So it's just always something that I've done, whether it's my own hair or other people's hair. It's just I've always done it.
So hold on, like you were in middle school and setting up shop at your parents' crib, and you out there got your own salon going at a young age. Is that how it's going down?
Yeah. Still, some people still come to me from middle school. So yeah, I had people literally in my room, and I'm doing their hair. Once I got to high school, then I had a dryer in my room that I would be doing hair. So I didn't have a dryer in middle school. I was just doing a lot of braids. But once I got to high school, I was doing roller sets, relaxers, all those things in my room with a dryer. So I had literally clients in my room from a young age till now.
So at what point did the idea of this passion turn into, well, this can turn into a profession?
That took some time. I never envisioned myself having my own salon until I became probably 27. That's never something I imagined as a young age, having my own salon. I always envisioned myself working in somebody else's salon. But through a lot of experience I had working at other people's salon, I wasn't treated like I wanted to be treated. I felt like a number. I felt like, I wasn't getting poured into like I really craved. And so after working probably at about 5 different salons, I decided to, I actually ended up getting what I would say a regular job. I got a regular job for some years and started doing hair on the side. Yeah. And then, I just got to the point where I'm like, although I never worked in the spaces that I craved, I believe I can create the space that I crave. Yeah. And so when I looked at the numbers, as far as me owning a suite or owning a salon, it was actually cheaper to own a salon than it was to own a suite. So that's where I even was like, well, it makes more sense for me to own a salon at this point. So that's kind of like the shorter version of the story, but it really started with me wanting to create an environment where I thought people could thrive. Yeah. And that's not something that I had ever experienced in my 15 years or at that time, at my 9 years of working in this business.
So you saw a problem, and where there's problems, there's often opportunities. And you were looking to bridge the gap where you understood that going to some salons, you feel as if you're just a number. You're not necessarily valued or truly appreciated or recognized in many ways. And your goal was to create a space where all of those voids could be filled. Can you kind of walk us through the process of you launching Curly Coils? Because you spent some time in the banking industry.
Yes.
Can you kind of briefly talk about that transition?
Yeah. So started off as a teller at a banking institution, and that's where we first connected. David, you would come in with your deposits, so that's your own story in itself. So would take your deposits from the place you were working at and
escape for a moment.
Yeah. Get a quick break, get a laugh or two in.
Yeah.
And so from that angle, being a teller, I started seeing the bankers. They were making so much more money than we were. And so I started thinking, I could be a banker too. I could be a banker too, because at that time, it's like, how can I make more money in this institute that I'm in? And that was the trajectory I needed to go to make more money, was to become a banker. So after about 2 years of being a teller, I merged into being a banker, where I ended up being like a licensed banker, where I had to take like the Series 63 test, the Series 6 test, the life insurance test, to be able to talk to clients about investments. And that's really where I was able to, really make a little bit more money. But ironically, I became the business banker at my branch too, and not knowing that I would ever own a business, but it was so helpful to be a business banker, so I could hear people's, good things, bad things about owning a business, and even simply understanding what I had to do to create a business, even as far as filing with the state, created an EIN, to be able to open a business bank account. Like, I learned all these things becoming a business banker. But that was I was a banker for 4 years, so total 6 years at the banking institute, but ended up getting fired. I got fired.
Really?
Yeah, I ended up getting fired because I was going through a divorce at the time, and they randomly run your credit as a banker. Sometimes they pull your credit to see, to make sure your credit is in good standing, because I believe the rule is they have a specific rule where you can't handle other people's finances if you have outstanding debts or credit at the time. And so I feel like I had a good explanation as to why I had these things going.
It.
Yes, so I shared my personal business, which I don't think I was required to do that, but I wanted to keep the job. So, hey, I'm going through a divorce. I got these things going. This is why this is right now, hoping for some grace. And they said, well, we're going to put you on a 30-day unpaid leave so that you can apply for other positions in the bank. Basically wanted me to go back down to a teller, and I wasn't going to take such a huge pay cut.
Yeah.
That just it didn't make fiscal sense at that time. And so, yeah, that's what ended up happening. So I think that had I not got fired, I'd probably still be working there, because I would say I'm going to retire here.
Yeah.
I'm building up my 401k, and, just mimicking what I've seen my parents do. They got a job and they worked there, and they're in you're supposed to retire.
Yeah.
And so just learn from my parents the loyalty, showing the job loyalty. But that's not really how we operate in 2022. It's kind of like you go where the money is, or you go where you're treated correctly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I ended up getting fired and was interviewing at different banks during that time, and just really had the epiphany of, I really don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I really never been passionate about this. I've been doing it because I needed to provide an income for myself. So I just didn't want to do it anymore. And so I just, jumped out on a limb and started Curly Coils.
So much to really kind of dissect there, right? Like, first off, I love the fact how you highlighted when you're in this position and you're coming across other business owners and you're just taking gems from them. You're learning from their experiences. That in itself is very valuable. Where someone may be in a position and you may not be using the gifts and the talents that you really want to leverage, or you're not doing what you really want to do, but there's still some knowledge that you can gain from that experience and apply to what you are building on the side. On another note, I did not know that they said, we no longer are going to use your services, because of a score. It's not like you didn't have the capability to handle the job that you were doing prior to the knowledge of them knowing what your credit score was. It was just a policy, so to speak, right? Mm-hmm. And from your end, right, it's very similar to, my story as well, where you have an idea, something that you want to do, but you're kind of apprehensive and hesitant, but then something happens that kicks you out the nest.
Yeah.
And forces you out of your comfort zone, or what you classify to be normal. And then you have this realization that, I'm no longer going to do things that do not express my heart and that I'm not passionate about. So at that moment, is this where curly coils started to become an idea that was feasible or something that was possible?
It did. It did become an idea. And, I just started doing market research. What I know is market research. At the time, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm just like trying to figure out what's going on to see if this is going to be profitable or not. So started market research. My first market research is, I'm in my own curly hair journey at the time. How many stylists are in the state or even in the city doing what I'm seeking to do? And at the time, there were no black women and 2 white women. And there was a brand, a curly brand that I was using at the time. And they had a thing. I'm looking at the bottle, and on the bottle it said find a stylist. And that's where I got my market research as far as who was doing what I was doing in the city at the time. And this was a very popular brand, and a lot of people found their curl specialists from this particular website. And so at the time there were 3, 2 being white, and then that was it. And so I had to figure out, how can I get on this, this stylist finder? Because a lot of people are looking for curl specialists, and I need to get on this stylist finder. So I ended up having to fly to New York and take some courses of theirs to be able to then be on their stylist finder. And from there, I used to get reports, and the top search was that brand, and they would find me from that brand. But as years have gone by, now the top search for my Google searches is my actual business name.
Yeah.
So instead of now people searching that brand to find me, they actually search my name.
That
So
brand
that was
awareness.
Yeah, so that was a huge success for me. But I started off doing market research, figuring out, will this be profitable? And I knew it would, just because there was not that many people doing this, and then no black women doing it at the time. And so it's pretty, I think it's okay to say a lot of times black women want to go to other black women to get their hair done. A lot of black women are reluctant to go to different races to get their hair done, especially for this specific, for this specific niche. So that's how it all started. And after I got on that stylist finder, my phone was blowing off the hook.
So let's give a little bit more context for viewers that may not fully understand what curly coils stand for.
Okay.
Because you primarily focus specifically on curly hair.
Right. That's all we focus on. Just natural people who want to wear their hair the way it grows out of their head, without any heat tools besides a blow dryer, without manipulating the hair in a different way.
Yeah.
We allow people to showcase their best selves with the way their hair grows out of their head. And that's so important. I mean, I was just listening to a radio show this morning about a kid who was going to a school where they told him he had to cut his locks. This is still going on in 2022.
Yeah.
They wanted him, this is in Ohio, they wanted him to cut his locks to be able to come to the school.
It's crazy.
And even the Crown Act, which is, a law that's passed in a couple states that you can't discriminate against people because of their hair. They had to create a law called the Crown Act just so that people aren't discriminated against. So it's still something going on. And I'm just so in a great position to empower people to, you can wear your hair the way it grows out of your head. That's okay. That's normal. That's dressy. That's professional. You don't have to adjust it if you don't want to. But just showing them different techniques, giving good product recommendations, creating good routines for people so that they're able to, live their best hair lives.
I heard that. Live your best hair life. Be original and own that. So let's dive more into the process and the journey.
Okay.
You have the idea. You have been put in a position where now you got to figure things out. What's your next direction that you're going to take? You start doing market research. Then eventually you get your studio space. There was a moment you had studio space, and then you had a co-studio space, right? You shared some studio space at one point. Okay,
yes, that's correct. So once I got fired, I used my 401k money to help me get started with this. And also I was collecting unemployment at the time. So that helped me as well. Just helped me break even a lot of weeks. But yeah, I started on Lafayette Road, had a very small space there. That's where I launched this business. And you know, shout out to all the people who came and supported me there. And I still have a lot of clients who still support me from that space. But I knew that I had to pivot out of there eventually if I wanted to be able to charge what I needed to charge to be able to make a profit. But at the time, that rent was what I could afford. And so, but those women that were there have been there for a long time. Most of those women had been in there 10 to 20 years. And so they didn't know what I was doing there. They actually thought I was doing Jerry curls for a while.
Really?
Yeah. So I knew that I couldn't stay there. It just wasn't the atmosphere, as nice as those ladies were, as beautiful people they were. It just wasn't going to serve me in the way that I needed it to. And I wasn't going to be able to charge what I needed to charge.
Yeah.
Because they were still in there doing, you know, roller sets, relaxers. And I'm in here, you know, trying to sell retail. I'm doing something totally different than what they were doing.
Yeah.
And so I think I pivoted from there probably about 9 months. I was there and moved to Broad Ripple. That was a big jump. My rent doubled from Lafayette Road to coming to Broad Ripple. But in turn, I was able to raise my prices.
Yeah.
When people are coming to Broad Ripple, they're expecting to pay some money. So shortly after I signed that lease, I ended up getting pregnant. So then I really had to pivot. I'm like, should I continue to keep doing this? You know, I have somebody I need to provide for now at this time. I even thought about going back to the bank part-time or maybe doing hair part-time, going to the bank. But I decided to go ahead and push forward just because of the amount of traction that I had from people contacting me and wanting to get in. And so, but that space ended up being not cost effective any longer. So I did move to another space. This is my third space now, where I shared that space with a friend of mine now, whose name is Brittany as well. And so we were doing 2 different businesses in there. She was doing something totally different than I was. But, you know, after, I think I was there in that space for 2 years. But a couple stories I remember distinctly. One important one is my client, I had a new client pull up and she's like, you know, I'm expecting to see a sign here that says curly coils. Like, where's the sign? And, you know, I just had to tell her I'm not there yet. You know, eventually I will have a sign, but I'm just not quite there. But, you know, the way that I market it was in a way that they thought that they were coming to this big extravagant place. Yeah. And it's actually me in there sharing it with another girl. And we're actually in a garage. There was a house that was a salon, and he turned the garage into a salon as well. So they're pulling up to a garage. And so they just were like, where's the sign? And so not only was that difficult, but pretty much every new client could not find this location. It was so frustrating to have to every single day explain where the location was multiple times a day. Yeah. And I would have an attitude, and, you know, what humbled me out of that mindset of being frustrated, of explaining where the space was over and over again, is I had this old lady coming and she could not find the space. And I felt myself getting frustrated per usual about having to explain where it is. And then she got out of the car with a walker, and I'm just like, Brittany, you really need to change your attitude, because there's people like really sacrificing to come out of their way. I mean, people catching the bus to come here. Yeah. And you need to tell them how to get here with a smile, because this is temporary, and it was temporary. But I needed that, you know, reality check even at that time. Like, get on this phone and explain where this building is, because it's hard to find. Yeah. But I couldn't wait to get out of there so that I could stop explaining where this ducked off place was. So once I was there for 2 years, then I went ahead and found this spot and was able to renovate it. And so that's kind of even a short version of that.
So it was a short version, but it was packing a punch, right? And I want to really kind of like step by step go through many of the nuggets that I took from what you just said. Okay. Right? You were in a space where wasn't nothing necessarily wrong with it, great people, but you understood that it wasn't conducive to your growth, right? And I think that's extremely important. Evaluating the space that you are in, maybe even the people that you surround yourself with, and ask yourself, is this going to help me get to where I want to be? And you came to the realization that no, it's not. So you shifted, and you created a shift where you aligned it with where you wanted to take your brand and your business.
Yes.
And I love the fact how you put strategy behind every single shift, looking at the numbers, understanding, hey, I'm at this location, and if I move to this location, even though my rent doubles, I still can charge more.
Right.
So it makes financial sense for me to make this move. Then you highlighted really the importance of seeing the end result or the people that you serve and placing a priority on that in comparison to being overwhelmed by the nuances of running a business, right? Like how many of us running a business and all the small details and the work that people don't see that you have to do behind the scenes can often be overwhelming, and you can often lose sight of why you do what you do. But as you highlighted, when the older woman hopped out of her vehicle and you saw really the commitment that she had to what you were providing, that shifted your perspective.
Absolutely.
So now let's transition to how you have evolved into this location here now. And you've built a team of other young ladies that are passionate about what it is that you all are doing. Can you kind of explain that process and transition?
Yeah, so at the location I was prior to this one, I found my first employee, who is Alea, who's been with me now 3 years, going on 3 years. And I recruited her from a career fair that was happening at Aveda where we graduated. I went there as well, 2007, some years prior, from finding her. And so they had the career fair set up like a speed dating event where the students go to each salon. There's probably 10 salons in there. And they go to each table and the salon pitches, and, then, the students will reach out based on what they think, or if they think that's going to be a good fit, or the salon will reach out based on whether it's going to be a good fit or not. So I'm at this career fair. I'm there by myself. I'm a one-woman operation. And so
One woman army.
Yeah, one woman army for sure. And so hearing Alea here tell me hearing her perspective of me being there is always so intriguing. She said that the reason that she called me is because I was in there saying, I don't need anybody. I'm here to really help somebody grow.
Yeah.
I don't need anybody for my business, but my phone is blowing up off the hook with people who want to get into me, but I still don't need anybody. I really need to attract somebody who's a good fit, someone who wants to do curly hair, and someone who wants to unlearn a lot of things that they just learned in school and learn a whole new way of doing hair.
Yeah.
And that has to be a special person. So that there was no way I could call anybody to recruit them. I had to wait for people to call me. And so out of all those students, Alea was the only person who reached out. And so it was fate. And so we started working one-on-one, Alea and I, where I was teaching her my methods, things I had learned over the years. And this probably went on for about, I'd say, 6 months before she started taking her own clients. In the meantime of her apprenticing with me, she still had another job. So sometimes she would get up early in the morning to take in that shipment at this other job. Like she had to be there for, we were just grinding. We were just grinding. And then when she was able to take her own clients with me at my space, I would work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because I only had one chair. So we were alternating by one chair.
Wow.
So I would work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. She would work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And so that was always an interesting perspective because I wouldn't be there at the time, because at those times I was taking care of my daughter. And so that's the way that we kind of ran the business. And so she would run into some obstacles without me, but she was able to overcome a lot of them without me. And so I knew she was going to be a great leader. And she was just young coming out of hair school. But I knew that she was going to do well just by us having to even pivot that. And also she was with me as I had to renovate this space, which was very stressful to have to renovate this space. So, but yeah, it's been 3 years now. So and she's doing so well. I'm so proud of when I see the numbers of my people and how much they make being 1, 2, 3 years out of hair school. And me, when I was coming out of hair school, I mean, I wasn't making any substantial amount of money. I always typically had to work 2 jobs when I worked at a salon to make ends meet. So to see them making what they're making. Now, in the meantime, I had a client come in. Her name was Deja, and she had thick hair, but she styled it so well. And I said, you know, she was 18 or 17 at the time. And I said, you know, you are very talented. You styled your hair so well. Like, you should think about going. I could tell she had talent by the way that she styled her own hair. It was very rare to see people. A lot of times people with very high dense hair or very thick hair, they're not very good at styling their hair because they don't have the patience to really go through each strand and really like take their time and do the hair. So this is somebody who was high density. And I told her, you should think about going to hair school because you have a talent for this. And she actually went. So that's my second person I hired. She came in and she started working. So she's been with me now 2 years, going on 2 years this year, and does amazing work. And the third person I hired, Kiana, she reached out to me. She was going to move here from Alaska.
Wow.
She had an interest in doing curly hair. That was becoming her passion. She had already taken a course on curly hair. And she had plans to move here from Alaska. She had family that lived here. And she said, you know, I'm thinking about moving here. Do you have room for another stylist? And I said, well, you know, not right now, but I'm going to build a space. I'm telling her I'm going to build a space, you know, just keep checking in with me to see if I'm going to, you know, if it's going to come to fruition. And it did come to fruition. And so then Kiana started before Deja. So I got those 2. They started like within months of each other. Now I worked one-on-one with everybody, but because I had trained Alea, she also assisted me with help with their training as well. But I had to really, because like I've said before, the training that they received and the things that we do here at this salon is nothing like we learned in cosmetology school. Everything that we've learned is from experience or from specialty training that we have to seek out, and, you know, it's just not offered. And really that curriculum does need to change on a national level, but we're just not quite there yet as far as the cosmetology. I mean, they still put a huge focus on doing perm rods, which maybe you may not know what it is, but the viewers know that we're not doing perm rods in the salon anymore. So, but that's such a big part of the curriculum in cosmetology school still in 2022.
Yeah, I know the perm rod is. I got one a couple weeks ago.
Right, exactly.
Sure.
So that was, you know, it came to the point where I had to have a receptionist. The phone rings off the hook. I'm surprised it's not ringing right now.
Yeah.
Because it becomes to be a balance of, because even the checking in and checking out portion of a person's appointment to me is an experience in itself.
Yeah.
And I didn't want us as stylists to be rushing that process because we're trying to get to the next client.
Yeah.
Or having to interrupt our conversation with the client to answer the phone, or to interrupt the conversation to have to help a person coming in to buy inventory. You know, so it was imperative for us to have a salon manager.
One thing that I love about that is really how you talk about this transition and evolution of this passion that you have, and how you turn that passion into an experience where you went into other salons and you saw, again, some gaps in what they were doing and how you could fill that gap with the services that you're providing and the energy that you can bring to the space of owning your own salon. One thing that I admire about the way that you operate, like I've spent time here as we were creating this video, is really how you educate your clients on how to take care of their curls and their hair. And as you've mentioned, everyone that is on your team, they were instructed and guided and taught by you. Can you kind of speak on the importance of spreading that knowledge, that information, and educating not only your team, but also the clients that you serve?
You know, growing up and getting your hair done, you really had no idea what was being used on your hair. I believe that was a method to retain the client, because I believe the stylist didn't want you to learn how to do it and then do it yourself at home, right? So that was a way for them to retain their clients. At this salon, it's a little different. We actually don't want to see people every week. We want to see people about every 3 months. So it's imperative that we teach our clients how to do their hair, what amount of product to use, what product to use, how to get the best results, so that they're able to duplicate it at home and then come to us more so for maintenance. So that's a huge, huge difference from what I saw growing up to this today. So yeah, it's for us, we want to hand the client a mirror. We want the client to see what we're doing, because the whole goal is, you're going to be doing most of this work at home.
Yeah.
And so we want you to be able to learn what we're doing so that you're able to master this, maybe never as good as we're doing it, but some clients do eventually get better than us, and they should. They're doing their hair every week.
Yeah.
But just, that's a huge change in what I saw growing up. You said a part 2 of that question. Did I get it?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Like you answered really the question that I was asking, and I see, the value in what you do as far as educating them, because it's not just about the service. It's really about empowering them with information that's going to help them maintain the look that they're aiming to accomplish.
Absolutely.
And again, I see that in how you guys operate and the way that you approach it, right? Taking a different stance on it in comparison to other salons where it's like, we got to get you back in here to get you taken care of. Your mindset is, I want to give you the tools that you can use, so when I'm not there, you still can maintain the same look, have the same level of confidence with your hair and the way that you show up into any space that you enter into. Mm-hmm. So I want to transition the conversation more so again towards the journey that you have taken up to this point now. You've talked about how you got laid off and you had to figure things out. You did some market research, had some experiences at various salons, and then had the crazy idea of launching your own salon. And now here we are again, the physical manifestation. What would you say has been one of the biggest challenges that you have navigated or overcome throughout this journey? Because of course, from the outside looking in, and many people can see, okay, the success, the accomplishments, the personal achievements, and then they often assume that everything was easy or they couldn't do it because they have specific challenges that they're personally facing. From your perspective and your experience, what would you say has been one of the biggest challenges that you overcame, and then how did you do it?
The biggest challenge I'd have to share is simply managing people. Managing people and attracting the right people for your business is extremely hard, and it really can make or break the business.
Yeah.
I've really taken time this year to do some different things that I've never experienced at a salon. This year, I've taken time to do, if not monthly, every other month education with my staff. What that allows us to do is to talk about anything that's going on, but also it gives us the opportunity to always sharpen our skills, and in turn gives us a reason as to why we're increasing our prices when we need to.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've never experienced at a salon that I started incorporating this year is doing team building activities, whether it be, we recently did painting with the twist.
Okay.
And we're doing like candle making here coming up. Just a quarterly outing where we're able to just do something beyond hair.
Yeah.
And really just, be friends for a second. You know what I mean? These are people that we're with every day. And a lot of the conversations we have in the salon are about the salon. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to build that camaraderie outside of the salon too.
Yeah.
So those are some major efforts that I've made this year that I knew, despite how difficult it is to manage people and attract those right people, those steps are going to make us closer and really build more of a team and more of a family.
Yeah.
So that's the way I'm always combating it now. I think that's always going to be, anytime you own a business and you have employees, that's always going to be difficult to make sure, like, how do you know if you're hiring the right person? You really don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're highlighting something that's very important. I think many people should place more of an emphasis on, and that's culture. You know, the work environment and the culture that you establish is key, especially when you're in a service business. I mean, not only service businesses, but if you're providing some type of product, you want to create a culture where people enjoy being there. People are having fun and they're doing things that they're passionate about. They see the value in it. And then there's a team culture, right? You know, team-oriented spirit, because that's going to make things more efficient and everybody's going to be more effective as they're working to get the job done. And then you also highlight the importance of, you know, not only professional development, but personal development, right? And I work hands-on with many organizations really preaching that, right? You know, the importance of individuals connecting with themselves. If you have a better individual, they're going to perform on a higher level and scale things the way that you envision them. So really investing time and energy to doing just that will pay dividends in the long run. Something else that I do admire, Brittany, is really like the energy that you bring to what it is that you do, right? There's a aura of confidence that you stimulate and create, you know, when you're operating in your element, when you speak about Curly Coils and the business and the passion that you have for it. I mean, you know, a prime example of that is really how you mentioned earlier in the conversation, where somebody comes to your salon and they were like, hey, where's the sign at, right? You had built, you know what I mean, like the brand awareness and the energy that you brought to it, to the point that it developed a reputation, and people were looking at it from a different stratosphere, from a different perspective. And I think it goes to show that you don't have to fake it until you make it when you're already it.
Right.
And I think I'll say that again in case we missed that. You don't have to fake it till you make it when you're already it. You know, you embrace the moment where you were. Hey, I don't have a sign, but I'm going to get there. Right. I believe I'm going to get there. Mm-hmm. And the confidence that I have in that is exemplified, is felt. You know what I mean? And people they attract themselves to that. What could you say about a person that has an idea, right? And maybe they're doubting themselves. Maybe they feel insecure about what they bring to the table. Maybe they think that they're going to fail. Because again, revisiting your story, you're in a position when you found out you were pregnant and you're like, yo, should I go back to the banking industry? But then the faith kicked in, right? The self-belief, the self-confidence, that aura that I just spoke on came back into the conversation. You said, no, let's go for it. What would you say to that person that is sitting on a gift or an idea, but again, that insecurity is talking them out of doing something?
I say the greatest answer that I've heard concerning this is winners don't visualize the failure. Winners only visualize them winning. Even during the pandemic, after I renovated this space, never in my mind did I not think that we were going to be successful once we were going to come back into the salon.
Yeah.
I knew we had to weather that storm. I knew as soon as we got out of that storm, we were going to be busy. And we were. I never, to this day, have visualized this business failing. Mm-hmm. It's impossible. The worst case scenario would be a walkout, which I've experienced. I worked at a salon where all the stylists walked out on this lady.
Wow.
She was 5 people. 3 of them walked out. I'm the 5th. She had to close. She had to close for that. That's the worst case scenario. But truthfully, I developed this space so that because I saw that happen, if that were to happen to me, I can afford the space without anybody else working but myself.
Right. So
I can't see what does failure look like, you know, because if that were to ever happen, those people weren't meant to be there anyway. Yeah. And I don't ever see that happening because I don't treat them like she treated those employees. And so I think the greatest answer is if you have a vision or something that you want to accomplish, yet fear is holding you back, don't visualize the failure. Only close your eyes and visualize what it looks like to win. that end goal that you're looking for is you winning, and only close your eyes and dream about those times. Of course, prepare for things that may happen that may cause you to pivot, but don't visualize yourself failing.
Yeah, I love that. Like distorting reality and attaching your mind, your emotional state on what can be, right?
Yeah.
Like that is essentially the law of attraction. When you create the vibration of having and holding something, sooner than later, you're going to start attracting it. The vibration is your thought pattern and your emotional state. And you're describing really locking your mind in on where you want to be and attaching yourself to the emotions that you want to experience when that does occur. Even in the moment, right? Like your current environment may not be in alignment with the success that you want to experience, but because you create that now, you're setting the tone. And you're going to be able to create your own circumstances because your belief is carrying more power than your reality. That's going to influence you to reshape your environment, reshape the world in which you live, and align it with the vision that you have for your life. I love it.
Marvelous.
My last question is this, Brittany. Throughout this entire series, we have been really diving into the journey and the story of various small business owners. And from my perspective, I see individuals that are pursuing something, hence the name The Quest. We're all on this adventure to accomplish something specific. What are you chasing?
You know, that's a great question. And to answer it off the top of my head, I think my quest is to show that I can do anything that I want to do. As long as I have good intentions and, you know, I'm solving a problem, I believe that I can do anything that I want. With the help of God. I always have to give credit to God. But I believe that's my quest. And so I have different business ventures that I want to do, business ventures that I'm currently doing. And my mindset is just like, I can do different things and be successful at it.
Yeah.
And show people like you can also do what you want to do and be successful at it with a great vision, with a plan, with the action, and with good intentions.
Yeah.
All those things can be accomplished.
Yeah. Putting it in place and helping individuals understand that you are unstoppable.
Right.
You can do anything that you set your mind to.
Absolutely.
I'm loving it. So, can you tell the family how we can connect with you, stay up to date
Absolutely.
with what's going on with Curly Coils?
Yes, thank you so much for coming again today, David.
sure.
You can check us out on our website. It's Curly Coils with the K, KURLYKOILS.com if you'd like to book an appointment. Our Instagram handle is CurlyCoils317. You can also find us on Facebook.
Excellent. Be sure to connect with my sister Brittany Davidson family, okay? Join this train. It's going places. I'm about to get hooked up right here. We're going to do something with this hair that I got on my head, get it curled up a little bit. But Brittany, I appreciate your time. You're doing phenomenal work. I am so very proud of you. Keep applying that pressure and building momentum. Again, I appreciate you, sis.
Yeah, thank you.
In the meantime, family, you know what it is. Be effective, be successful, live with some passion, and most importantly, fist up, Brittany, be powerful. Stay tuned. We got many more small businesses that we'll be diving into and hearing more about their stories and their journey. Peace.
I was not satisfied at my job. I felt like I was unfulfilled.
He said he wanted to quit his job.
Yeah.
And then he said, I'm going to quit my job and we're going to do Christian clothes. And I said, oh, okay. Is that what we're doing?
We're going hard in the paint. Ain't nobody gonna stop us. The only way we going out if you pull out your choppers. All that slander and your hate will propel us like helicopters. We